Oh, that was the end. So, no, 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 no. You didn't see anything. You didn't see anything. Anything. You didn't see anything. Alright, we're done. We got it. Let's do it.
Harry Potter and the Throbbing Wands of Emotionality. Chapter 3, Hogwart's Humble Renovation. It's not a rebuild. We're not rebuilding. McGonagall pursed her lips way too deeply for the morning's first period. We are merely updating Hogwarts to get the fortress up to code. Harry, the tax code? McGonagall, for heaven's sake, Mr. Potter, for the last time, we do not pay Muggle taxes. If you haven't noticed, we use magic. Why do magic users have need for revenue when we could unibus plurum treasure troves all the long day? A crash of coins burst open the doors of the provisional classroom bungalows McGonagall's class had to make do with for the duration of the renovation from the egregious attack by Rookwood and his ilk inflicted on Hogwarts. And thankfully on a Friday, giving the school's leadership enough time to find the appropriate contractors. Harry, so the construction teams are muggles? McGonagall! Heavens! No. Cackles and snorts. That's like having a laundry doula deliver your wizard child. Very doable if you don't mind the birth defects from their grubby hands. The class was a bit silent. Harry sensed perhaps McGonagall said something of a slur that she maybe needed to keep to herself, but Harry decided to let it slide. Keep it in the old mental vault, but let it slide for now. McGonagall. Now, if you want to really know the ins and outs of subcontracting construction projects in Wizarding England, you can ask Professor Templar during your Necronomics course during your final year. Now, let's finish our tea and get on with class. Right. Tea break is over. Let's go back to work. And Miss Puffer Creepy, no need to whisper to Miss Weevil. After all, your transfiguration forms are not as perfect as you might think. Your spongification spell at the bottom of your assignment was utterly incomplete. Now take notes, and maybe you might improve your spelling next time. The week's lessons were quite different from the previous ones that involved conjuration, beheading techniques, and other deadly martial magics. These days were more focused on architecture and geometry. Spatial expansion and spatial refraction were topics that kept the class on their toes. It was especially difficult to decipher how the spell corollary affected the outcome of the spell. The nuances were buried in the runes and suboculizations. After the day's lab practice, Harry made his way to his private quarters he shared with his two best friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger Weasley. He wanted a little break, perhaps catch a snack and relax in front of the telly. But when he entered the flat, he saw some changes had taken place. Harry, guys, did the room arrangement change? The shelves look different. Ron, oh, that. You wouldn't believe it, but we were attacked by a flock of pixies this morning while Hermione was making breakfast. They threw the dishes and ruined the curtains. Also, they ripped our couch to shreds, so we needed to make a few adjustments to our living room. Harry, okay, so that makes no sense at all. Did you look outside to see if there was an adverse weather event or a freak animal invasion? Ron. That's what Hermione said. She thought it was far-fetched. She accused me of overdrinking after the pub closed. But I told her the old landlord used to have pixie infestations when we lived in Chiswick. So we had to start renovation. Harry? Wow, sounds exciting. Well, good thing it's almost the end of the semester. You'll have some time off soon. Ron, Now that you mention it, could you bring us back some books on dwarf construction practices and the dwarves' methods for purging goblins from their hallowed minds? It's for a project we're working on for next semester. Harry? What? Dwarf construction? What kind of classes are you taking? Ron. Nothing you need to worry about. Go play football or whatever. You didn't shoo any pixies out of the house, so maybe you owe us a book or two from the library.
Play only.
Harry, did the pixies steal anything? Ron, no, not really. They just enjoyed making a mess. What kind of answer were you expecting? Harry, I figured they had a rational reason for the renovation. Like when Tom had to repair the plumbing in his flat, or when I had to get new windows installed. Or, well, I don't know why I would suspect pixies for renovations, honestly. Ron. Well, the reason we were renovating the house had nothing to do with pixies, actually. Harry searches the house and finds that the pixies did indeed steal Harry's most treasured artifacts from the Muggle world. Ron. No, Harry. It's not what you're thinking. The house was messed up by thieves who stole your Beatles LP record collection and your Adidas sneakers. What in Merlin's beard is going on here? McGonagall's shrill voice emanated from the cracked window. Hermione, close the flaps of your tent and collect your stuff. Hurry.
Literal or...
Harry heard shouts and scuttling footsteps through the walls. The sounds of frantic evacuation filled the corridor. Harry, again, pixies? Really? Hermione. Ronald, this is not the time for that story. We need to pack and get to the safe zone. McGonagall, losing the Battle of Hogwarts, is it? What are the fickle students of the world coming to these days? It was a flurry of movement as things went from one side to another, as if a hurricane were gathering speed to batter the fortress. It felt like a dream where someone was controlling every action. Harry casts a spell to find his Beatles LP collection and comes across an open-air pixie dust bazaar. Ron. I hope you were right, McGonagall. Please, allow me to help. You get the students out of here. I'll stay behind and hold off the thieves with the knowledge I have of pixies and their weaknesses. McGonagall. No way, Sonny. You're not wasting your life here. I'll deal with this myself. Headmaster Dumbledore is calling me now. Maybe he found a new contractor to finish the renovation. Look, it's all here, Harry said. My Beatles LP collection is all in one piece, and my Adidas sneakers are a bit worn, but they're still usable. McGonagall stood quietly by the door, her face completely devoid of emotion. She had her wand out and was ready to cast the spell at any moment. She cast a glance at the ceiling and the windows, but nothing appeared or changed. McGonagall, may St. Peter bless us and shield us from evil eyes, please. Very detailed description of the pixie dust open-air bazaar. Harry, this reminds me of a time I went to Disney World as a kid. It was before they changed the name to Magic Kingdom, and everything was fantastic. But it was good to be surrounded by music and food, and it was all safe and friendly. No chaos like the pixies were causing. They're very interesting little creatures, but it seems like they can get out of hand when they see shiny things. Oh dear, said McGonagall, who suddenly disappeared down the hallway. We need to mobilize the ministry, send a letter to the knights, and cancel all classes until further notice. Ron, come on, Hermione. Let's go. We can't wait any longer. Hermione, it's too dangerous. I can't move. Something tells me that we shouldn't go outside yet. McGonagall, It's a miscalculation. She was only sent to stay at a friend's house outside of town. She should have left the area after our last emergency evacuation.
It's code or something.
Harry, I'm still here and I haven't left my spot. Could you explain what's happening, please? McGonagall pulled her wand out of her robes and cast a strange spell towards the ceiling, which turned the surface into a shimmering, misty-white aura. She then raised her wand up to the window, and a blue-green ray of light shot out of it, striking the glass and shattering it into 1,000 pieces. "Let's go," she said, as she stepped over the broken glass and walked briskly down the hallway towards the main entrance. The Pixies are using Hogwart's interior as a shop floor. They've invaded our fortress, and they're selling all of our artifacts. We must stop them. The three of them left the flat and joined the crowd of students and staff streaming through the halls. They followed McGonagall outside, where she led them to a clearing near the lake. She cast another spell, and the lake began to rise, bubbling and boiling over with a frothy white foam.
Why?
Three Pixies sees Harry try to take his Beetle's LPS back. "Pixie one! Hey! Thief! Those are my tunes, man! My girl got them for me 1,000 suns ago." "Harry, listen, I think there's been a mistake. These are mine." "Pixie 2, you humans and your false claims. Humans like you were the reason the Pixies lost their homeland. Look at what they've done. They've destroyed the planet and everything that used to belong to us." "Pixie 3, yeah, Pixies were here long before you Homo sapiens were even around. Our ancestors lived here long before your kind even existed." "Pixie 1, yeah, you're wizarding on stolen land." McGonagall heard the argument and saw that the situation was escalating. She called for backup from the Knights, who arrived within minutes. They battled the Pixies, who continued to attack the school from every angle. They smashed the windows, climbed the walls, and fought viciously with their sharp teeth and claws. Meanwhile, Harry found a wooden pipe that was used to warn the castle of an incoming attack. He slipped it into his pocket and blew a loud and haunting melody on it. Harry ran out of breath and inhaled to continue the melody, and a sizable quaff of pixie dust enters Harry's lungs. Harry starts dancing around, unbeknownst to him that he is now under the spell of the pixie dust, a powerful hallucinogenic substance that causes its victims to hallucinate in wild and vivid colors. He continues to dance and jump around, seemingly unaffected by the effects of the dust. Dancing pixies appear from nowhere and join the musical performance, adding their voices to Harry's haunting melody. It appears as though the fairy folk have taken the lake hostage and are threatening the castle's defense. McGonagall, having called the city guard to secure the perimeter, returns to the battle and yells for the students to retreat into the castle for safety. But Harry, still under the spell of the pixie dust, is oblivious to the danger and continues to play his pipe. A large flying spiked creature resembling a pixie emerges from the forest and smashes its head into the side of the castle, causing it to lean slightly to the left. The pixies, seeing the beast, abandon their attack and fly away, leaving the castle's defenders in the dust. Suddenly, Harry's music seems to change, and he begins to play the same melody he did before. The flying creature, hearing the music, follows it to its source and approaches Harry, who is still dancing and leaping. The scene is like something from a children's book, with the magical beast and the boy sharing a moment of reverence and awe. But then the creature sees the people defending the castle, and it lashes out, swinging its spiked tail and firing a series of painful blasts from its mouth. Harry kept playing the wooden pipe, and more pixie dust enters Harry's lungs. The visionary immersiveness of the pixie dust overtakes him. We enter Harry's paw for the rest of the chapter. Harry, hey, Hermione, this is fun. I like the side effect of the pixie dust. This doesn't feel real, but it's fun. Wow, you look nice. Maybe we can grab some butterbeer later. Her reply echoes in Harry's hallucination, which is one of soft mist and laughter. Harry, this feels like a dream. There's a lot of color. Look at the grass. It's so green. And the flowers. The sky. The world is so peaceful. Do you remember what happened before? I don't know. My memory is a bit foggy. Maybe if I try to keep playing, it will all go away. He tried again, but his hands were too shaky to hold the pipe. He tried to focus, to play the notes, but he just couldn't. Hermione, don't give up yet. We'll figure out how to break the spell. You just have to stay focused. You have to get out of this. Remember who you are, Harry Potter? Remember who you are. Just as Hermione spoke, a wave of realization rushed over Harry. He remembered his entire life, from his youth as an orphan in the Muggle world, to his arrival at Hogwarts, to his friends and his adventures. It all came flooding back. Yes, said Harry as he was overcome with memories. I remember now. I remember everything. He suddenly felt a change in his chest, a tightening, as if the whole world were compressing around him. Then the pain spread to his legs, his arms, and his throat. His stomach lurched, and a cold sweat broke out across his forehead. He collapsed to the ground, his whole body racked with tremors. Finally, a powerful and heavy roar escaped his lips, and the dust lifted from his eyes. He was suddenly awake and back in reality. It was then he realized he was lying on the bank of the lake. He couldn't see clearly yet, and there was no trace of the pixie creatures or their bizarre treasure market. He heard shouts and cries, and Hermione's voice. She was yelling for him to wake up. Harry sat upright, his chest aching and his eyes dry. He rubbed them and tried to speak, but his words came out mumbled and incoherent. Suddenly, Ron's face appeared in front of him. Ron, it's okay. It's okay. Don't try to move yet. Can you tell me what happened to you? Hermione was also there, kneeling beside him, holding a bag of supplies and potions. She handed him a vial, which he slowly raised to his lips. The liquid tasted sweet, and he felt a cool rush of relief as it flowed down his throat. Harry, where am I? Hermione, we found you by the lake. The pixie attack was too much for us to handle, so we had to call the city guard and evacuate. There was a large group of pixies roaming the area, trying to grab things from the school. Harry, I see. Can you explain why I'm seeing doubles right now? Or are these strange fumes that came out of my nose a constant effect? Hermione explained that the pixie dust had hit Harry when the flying creatures spat at him. This, combined with his inability to see and the sensory deprivation, had caused a small seizure that left him incapacitated for some time.
What's the pipe?
How long was I out exactly? Harry asked. About 2 hours. We took you back to the city hospital, and the doctor did some tests. Your vital signs seem okay, so we managed to calm the chaos by force of persuasion rather than traditional intervention, she said. But there could still be some lasting injuries inside you. Make sure to keep an eye on any wounds or abrasions and seek immediate attention. If they start to get worse or take any turning a bit haphazard, alert antrashidure at Bebus career or pickler unanaka dunha. Palio edinan at the mouse sasha jeronum. Melin moblio ban bunba. Oh no. I fear. Ron, Harry said. Ron. Hi, buddy. Good to have you back in the world of the living. Take it easy now and leave everything to us. Let us figure it all out together, just as we have been doing for the past several years. Hufflepuff troopers destroyed Pixie Market using potions of solstice substile. The next month's headlines showed the valiance of Hufflepuff under their leader, Scabriona Darkhand, a known practitioner of magics that dated back to before Hogwarts had even been built. This mastery of both dark and ancient magics helped her to breach the boundary and destroy the rogue market, though at a grave cost to her own health. In addition, her swift and efficient actions soon led to the establishment of stricter regulations for the use and management of pixie dust. From this moment onwards, pixie dust could only be harvested in controlled environments under the supervision of trusted officials. Despite the new regulations, there were still rogue groups that continued to sell legal substances, leading the Department of Magical Defense and the Ministry of Magic to place a freeze on international trade. However, the legacy of the Great War continued to live on in the hearts of those affected. The number of instances involving the usage of pixie dust, or even mention of the pixie creatures themselves, was reduced drastically to non-existent. Even the members of the Pixies reclaimed unity, once seen protesting against the hunting of pixies, had chosen a new path to redeem their pride and stand up for their people and community. Unfortunately, this was not without casualty, and Scabriona was heavily debilitated by her time fighting off the market and reclaiming Hogwarts. As a consequence, her age caught up with her, and she spent most of her remaining days on a bed at Hogwarts Hospital, quietly enjoying the sunbeams from her window. Hermione and Ron, listen. That wasn't a dream. That was my very recent reality. You may not remember it, but I did. Hermione and Ron glanced at each other knowingly, as if they had seen this exact scenario before. And they had, because for some reason or the other, they often ended up fighting off a whole host of dangerous creatures and constantly finding themselves on the brink of losing everything they held dear. There had even been one incident where the pixie dust created an explosion that caused an intercontinental meltdown. If it hadn't been for the quick thinking of some of their professors, it could have led to a total catastrophe.
Most of them are dead now.
But here they were, laughing as if the whole matter were nothing but a trivial detail in the long story of their adventure-filled lives. As they cracked jokes and gossiped about the new statue they'd seen at the Ministry building, Harry wondered if this was all a twisted memory or if he was a clone created in some failed experiment gone awry. Maybe, somewhere in a timeline parallel to his own, his original self and friends lived the whole incident and he just happened to get himself caught in its splinter effect. It wouldn't be the first time a miracle like that had happened to the likes of them. Because being Harry Potter was like that, always seeking the truth behind the rumors and mysteries surrounding his very existence. And if this experience taught him one thing, it was that finding the common denominator and staying consistent to that sense of reality would ultimately prove the value of his friendship with these two remarkable beings whom fate had made family in his wildest dreams.
Harry.
Well,
K.
are we
Potter.
doing our customary snickerdoodles and butter beer today? Hermione? Ron asked, snapping Harry out of his reverie and back into the moment. She shook her head, pursing her lips tightly. Absolutely not. Did you forget what happened to us the last time we met? What was so different this time? She shot back. Ron thought for a moment and blushed sheepishly. Harry, how about we just get high on life? Ron and Hermione look at Harry, the figure of speech apparently never reached Wizarding England, especially a Wizarding England with a long-established pharmacopoeia and graphic industry. Harry, good evening all. Looking forward to our battle tonight. Are you guys ready for our game later this month? Nice save there, Harry. Ron whispered as he slapped his back, thankful for the topic change. Harry didn't need another experience of another magically created wizard's tavern with darn cursed ground and every awful prank that followed. All he needed was peace. Just as Professor Trelawney had predicted when she drew his horoscope last Friday in front of the entire staff, Harry wished with all his heart that no more adventures would take place, even in his dreams. Well, not too adventurous or grand, just enough of a thrill. McGonagall swept out of her classroom carrying the scant few pages left from Harry's Butterfly of Winksonzali Caviarachasnaforten Tamarand and Selene Dallies, a paper she was working on as per Hermione's assignment in ancient history. But her wand was not in her hand, not with her looking tense and serious enough. Potter, I have some bad news, she said as she met him just as he stepped into his fifth period transmogrification class, his cloak whipping around in the breeze of his gait. Hermione and Ron held a comfortable distance of not stepping in and barreling over him as if in a Three Bears trample situation, keeping pace until they realized that there was some form of disaster alert that could bring further conflict on campus. McGonagall connected as transcitus gates pooped the gigantic saucy boomerstatne perm over the belching basaltic Balberry Lakes buster storm in a freakival fonskla penelap of grongulabag subs nupa stosiponad nampa fladark ishtamotsi had been found while simultaneously reading her sentence by prodigiously nibbanoptique swelchitota kakulas matiti eleldifakin sikibal toliad. As the prodigious sister felt like a taffeta tied into silence, the both of them looked at the floor with pursed lips of constipation and dropped ear truckle charltony thunder on the lac cleary lead idicale orly tetite telly ablub ajumiquid thiningumwaltly julia gamielub fokbala kdb vinlantum starting dacids the tegias tigerback and burfrinet of liver quivering 1 diet de y. Enrelion at the Skundarletta full of hypumili did murder over rape obscenicerum dan JNF puron the Talasoli Flibion and sin Kate wasn't in Buffinimit. It would seem the Pixies reclaimed unity groups of our world has been gathering forces beyond its borders. No doubt it has something to do with your earlier rescuing. This means danger not just for all wizard kind and mankind alike. CCCT. It was as if the magic realm spoke, for Harry did not understand the significance of the saying, not mankind. McGonagall, Messrs. Weasley Granger, you should take Mr. Potter back home. Oh, and make sure he wakes up to these. She hands them Harry's Beatles LP. McGonagall, I threw away the shoes. Those were about to give birth to junkie wyverns. Ron and Hermione carried Harry off to home, leaving yet another muggle slur hanging in the air. But it didn't matter. They had more important things to worry about, like the looming threat of a pixie invasion that was about to begin, and how to prevent it from escalating. As they reached the door, Harry noticed a slight change in the atmosphere. The air smelled like a mixture of incense and herbs. The walls were covered with dried flowers and crystals. Even the curtains had been replaced with a gauzy material that allowed the light to stream in. It felt as if they'd entered a completely different house. Harry, wow! Hermione, let's have a chill housewarming. Hermione placed the following Beatles album on the record player, and the three sang Harry's favorite Beatles song, Eleanor Rigby, while laughing over everything else. Later that evening, Harry awoke in his room. He rubbed his eyes and yawned, but he quickly realized that he was dreaming again. This time he was standing outside a building that looked like Hogwarts, but was eerily familiar. As he peered through the iron gate, he heard voices. McGonagall burst through the large window next to Harry's Tower of Spells. Piece of junk, she huffed as she waved her wand towards the book she'd sent flying in every direction. From the ground emerged the end credits, and behind the credits, on a lazy Susan, rotated the band, the Pixies, singing us out. Debaser. Lyrics by the Pixies. Lyrics begin here. What'd you lose on a tip, go-go? What you lose on a tip you did give to the person on top of it. Echoing. Because they sound right. Sing like lames in sight. Cuffums chape dudes to them. Words floating. Never getting out ending. Forging a new place to begin. Claps are thine, hands through them rain. Fun I kitty warrens he thunders new neanini jern. Ivan Kehan Blam Sheffins Num Supper Copensound Copa Jiban Nobishan Awu. Quasi simile, pa quasque poleso ani, simo constic puba bradak montu quasi decta cabra passocia de terrority, so risator omni plavix patent public quasi am fluenza quatia xito. Lyrics repeat Darius ni non matter popan snobs, poor spielness muffina there. Might be well never what the bada be hod sedavishap or arshin gafpadnopo. Amula Bashwap, Lord of Papa Cuprof, Kinky Stikas, Invisitimantini, Esfamadabish, Shushador, Fish and Count Vinklet, why? Debaser! Any prebilop prop cock. Ishetli highest sutli egu, plunging her for the deep jode, so you may metas spiot peppermint camola? Nah, in who taken min and a plank of plod? Ah, go upset to your soul. Debashi trudgy dougage dabble toja. Debaser! Made off silfredy drallo demensian bastabu and srembag. Silfus niab. Samba but in view will be a miat srapped up you bought into a bastetta treader until an kind of a PM and gaddle beam pon. Finello. S. Debaser! Speeby podseg! Oh, folks, she didn't let that be taught no simply fio ho hail you yadil you hell tea. The best what they come out of bishop peaks. Might neo bio me my court datu and be. Well, oh, for J. Boucher, you to see the gavel, you may know it.
That's it. Alright, maybe another episode. Who knows?